Hi, so my name is Katie Armstrong, and I'm going to be talking about personalized learning in education. So first of all, what is personalized learning? So personalized learning is basically instruction that meets students' individual needs. It's tailored towards learning preferences and specific interests of, different learners. The pace, it varies depending on the type of learner. The objectives, the content, the approaches, all vary based on the learner, and learning is really driven by interests in the choices of students. So within the society and culture, I think everything is pretty much personalized. So it's definitely strange that our education system is so standardized. When you're in a workplace, everyone has a different job to do. No one's expected to do the same job. You might have someone who's really good at marketing, and then someone who's really good at doing reports, and then someone else who's really good at presenting, to the entire company. And I would never expect, my IT guy to be able to do a presentation to the entire company. And that's because each of us has our own skill level that we bring to the table, and we see that throughout society and culture. No one has the same job. And I think a really good quote by Albert Einstein is, everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. So it's important that we recognize everyone's interests and skill levels throughout society, and that's why people are successful. So within education, though, personalized learning is very important. Not every student has the same learning style in education, and the purpose of education is to basically prepare students for the future. Currently, though, in education, it's very much conformed. There's standardized testing, across all areas and all age levels. And Common Core is actually what is going on in education right now. Basically, Common Core is something that was put in place that standardizes education across the United States. So it's a set of high quality academic standards in mathematics and the English language. The learning goals outline what a student should know and be able to do at the end of each grade. So these standards were created to ensure that all students graduate from high school with the skills and knowledge necessary to succeed, regardless of where they live. So basically, all students are expected to graduate with the same exact skills and knowledge, by being taught with the same approach, taught in the same way, and then tested the same way. And that's basically what Common Core is across our nation. Here's an example, just traditional math versus Common Core. And so, normally I think teachers would, or before Common Core was implemented, there was a traditional way to teach math, but I guess students could kind of learn, whatever way worked best for them. But with Common Core, students are expected to learn the Common Core way and are tested on the Common Core way, and then expected to graduate with the knowledge of the Common Core way. Common Core is currently in 41 states, which is a large portion of our states. Um, and then if we look here on this little diagram that shows the United States and where we stand education-wise with all, other countries, so internationally, the United States actually performs more middle of the pack, which I think, being a world powerhouse in economics and innovation, I think it's very surprising to see that we don't actually outperform students in other countries. Our education system is definitely needs to be reformed if we want to, compete at a higher level with students internationally. And this is another little example of our education system. With standardized testing and Common Core, we are expecting all students to perform the same exact way, and that's just not simply what is feasible or what we should expect of students. In this example, all the students, in air quotes, are different animals, and each animal has its own set of skills, and it's their own things that they can do and what they can't do. And for their exam, the instructor is asking them all to climb that tree. Well, clearly, if we look at this picture, the monkey's going to be able to climb the tree very quickly. The penguin might be able to. The elephant will not be able to climb that tree. He'll probably bulldoze it. The fish can't even leave the fishbowl. And honestly, the other two animals aren't going to be able to climb the tree. Um, and so this just shows how each student, has a different learning ability and skill set, and it doesn't mean that students are better or worse than each other, but they have different learning methods that work best for them. And we can't expect each student to learn the same way, which is how, we are testing them currently in education. So this brings us back to personalized learning and how that maybe could affect and benefit students in the classroom. So as I said before, all students have different needs and different learning styles, and I think our education needs to reflect that. This can be shown through creativity in the classroom, different learning environments, and then unique ideas that students can learn from in the classroom. And I listed a few examples of these below. So, flipped classroom is basically where um, the teacher doesn't spend the whole time lecturing and the classroom's flipped so students do some learning in their own time outside of the classroom. And this is beneficial for students because that learning might, involve something. Not all students learn by sitting in lecture and taking notes. Some might absolutely love that and that might be the best way that they learn, and others might not take away anything from sitting in lecture. And so with a flipped classroom, that gives the students the ability to, learn through lecture, but then also have these other, um, digital or technology aspects that they can go back and learn. They might be given an article to read or a really cool video to watch, and that just might adhere towards their learning style better. Some other examples are a vertical classroom, which students are given a whiteboard and have to stand vertically instead of sitting at their seats, hunched over their papers. And they basically work through problems on that whiteboard with groups. So they're going to be working with students with totally different learning styles than them, and they can work with these students and talk about and work through their ways of learning and how they solve this problem. And it's a really good idea for students, their learning to be personalized, and maybe they haven't learned well in anything in this class, but another student's doing something in a totally unique way, and that works for, this particular student who's struggling. And this way students can collaborate and really work with each other. This is another good example. Each student, has a different skill set and ability. And if we all test these students the same way, they might not perform the same way. So for the student in the back, for example, that can't complete a writing assignment, maybe the teacher would give him an oral assignment in a personalized learning environment, and that student would perform just as well as the student that knows every name of every state capital. He just can't write it down, but if he does it verbally, orally, he can perform the same exact way. So when we're talking about personalized learning and education, I think the teachers plays a very important role. They need to be dynamic and adapt to students and adapt to the changes in their learning styles. I think the only way that teachers can do this is by utilizing technology, because technology is a tool that helps these teachers manage their diverse classrooms. Teachers need to define mastery. If they're changing learning for each personal student, then they need to figure out what constitutes passing for each student. And they also need to figure out what is their why. They need to understand why they're doing this so that, this is such a different idea than traditional teaching. And so they really need to focus on why they're doing this and the benefits that it's going to have for their students. So in my major, biology, um, there's a lot of personalized learning that goes on. Most of my classrooms are flipped, which allows me and my classmates to have the ability to learn in different ways. So the flipped classroom is really beneficial. There's also a lot of technology that we utilize, and that's, I might learn well with a video, and someone else might learn well by an online discussion talking about our assignment. And so we see personalized learning and group projects where everyone brings something different to the table. Someone might design the project, someone might do the research, etc. So it's really important in science to collaborate with others, and I see it a lot in my classrooms. Personalized learning hits all of the student standards. It empowers learners. They're doing things on their own because it's personal to them. They're using technology. They're still, constructing knowledge. They just might be doing it in a different way than traditionally. They still have to, think computationally. Um, it allows them to be innovative in the classroom. They, might learn better through something digital, and so they can be creative with that. And definitely communicating with students and figuring out they might have the same learning style, so these two students can work well together and just collaborating globally with everyone. And then in terms of teachers, teachers play such a huge role in personalized learning. So they really, work digitally and they have to promote digital responsibility for their students and they have to design these digital experiences. And it helps them facilitate student learning and creativity in the classroom, but also helps them, grow as teachers and learning different ways and coming up with, different learning activities that they might not have thought of before in a traditional classroom. But they have to create something for a specific student. So they are really developing on their own and having to learn about different things so that they can implement them in the classroom. Here are my references, and thank you very much.